Okay, so it's been a while since I've done anything with the car. I've been doing a lot of street tuning and just trying to get it to run right. Um, Mostly been focusing on cold starts and that kind of thing. They've been horrible, but I think I got that resolved. But anyway, um, about a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, um, I was out doing a data run, and it was quite warm out. It was probably, I don't know, mid 80s, something like that, ambient temperature, and got caught in a traffic jam, and stop and go traffic. So typically it's no big deal, but when I was looking at the engine coolant temperatures, they had shot up to the low 200s. So it was like 210, 212, something like that, which is kind of out of character for my car. Usually I run, in the high 180s and mid 190s, something like that. So, of course, I was concerned. I did all the normal precautions. You turn on the heater and try and your best to get out of the traffic jam in order to get airflow through the radiator. Anyway, I get back home again, and the I find that my coolant levels were low. Now, I don't know where the coolant went to. I'm not going to speculate on that right now. But anyway, my coolant level was low. So I filled it back up again, filled the overflow bottle, and the next day when I ran the car, what was happening is that the temperatures were down in the mid 150s, which is cool. Um, Cool not as in good, but cool as in cold, um, which is unusual for my car. So I kind of didn't know what to make of it. I drove the car. Anyway, I got back home, checked the coolant levels. It was good. So I don't know why it was running so cold. Um, So um, my guess is at this point that when it ran hot and when it ran without fluid flowing past it, the coolant sensor, uh, that I potentially have damaged the coolant sensor and potentially have damaged the thermostat. Um, Now, um, that's no fun. Let me show you why. I have a coolant reroute on my car. And what that means is that typically on a stock Miata, the thermostat and the coolant temperature sensor sit out here. There's a piece that comes off the front of the engine, and they sit right about here. And then the hose runs from that over to the top of the radiator. But in my car and many others, I have done a coolant reroute, which means that the the temperature sensor and the hose are at the back of the head. Now, while that's great in terms of providing proper flow through the engine, because the water pump is up front here, pulls in the water, circulates it through the engine, and then it comes out the back of the head and into the hose that goes back into the radiator. So it provides a more constant temperature across the head and across the engine, actually. But it's awful from the standpoint of maintenance because the coolant sensor is buried back here. You can't even see it. It's buried back here. And the thermostat is in a housing that's back here, which is hell to try and get to with the engine in the car. So What I'm going to attempt to do today is pull the temperature sensor, check it to see if it is damaged in some way, and maybe even be able to look at the thermostat. I can't tell if it's working or not, opening or not, but at least I can see if the temperature sensor is functioning. And how I'll do that is basically take the temperature sensor out, connect it up, take it out of the car, and then basically put it in cold water, put it in hot water, and see if it reads the right temperature in those two extremes. If it works, well, whether it works or not, I'm going to replace the temperature sensor. Then we have the problem of, is the thermostat damaged and it's open all the time? And if it is open all the time, I'm just going to avoid that, and you can't see, but I'll show you later. But this is the hose that runs from the back of the head underneath the intake manifold and into the top of the radiator. What I'm going to do is, in the hose previously in a different incarnation, and you can't see that. Hold on, let me get something. Let me get some light over here. Yeah, now I think you can see it. But that hose is split, and there's a length of pipe here, and in a different incarnation you can see down here there's a metal part, and this is where I had once upon a time a water feed to the turbocharger here, and that's no longer being used, so it's basically been plugged up and it just sits there. So I can conveniently use that, take this metal part out here and install an inline thermostat housing and have it live here. And basically it will, if that thermostat on the back of the head is open all the time, then this will be the primary thermostat for the engine, and that on the back of the head will just be open until I either get brave enough to try and get to it, or blow up the engine again and the engine comes out of the car, and then I'll deal with it then. That's the task for today, is basically to check the temperature sensor, see if it's even functioning, replace it with a replacement sensor, and then put in the thermostat housing, the inline thermostat housing in this coolant reroute hose. So that's what I'm doing today. Fun and games. Okay, the first order of business is to try and get the shit. Try and get the sensor unplugged. Oh, that was surprisingly easy. Okay, that's the sensor. Now time for the test. Okay, this is the old temperature, or the old sensor. And it's reading 74 degrees. And then I'm going to check that says 73. Okay. Okay, now I have boiling water. It's showing 185 degrees. Let's see what this says. That says 170. Okay, that has cooled down to 170. Again. I have 182. Says 178. And that says 177. Okay, so it seems like this is reading what it's supposed to read. Now, let's see if the new one does any different. So, by evidence of the numbers, it looks like the stock one is doing just fine. The new one seems to be reading just slightly lower than I would think, but it's not totally out of whack. But the stock one is reading seemingly just fine. So I'm going to leave the stock one in place. Okay, let's put the sensor back in. Okay, my next job is to get this part of the water system of the reroute. Get this metal part here out and replace it with replace it with this inline part here. Now I marked it so that this side is to the engine. This is not the flow direction, but this side is to the engine, and that this line is a line that there's a very small hole built or drilled into the thermostat edge that allows some small flow of water through there, coolant I should say, through there, even when the thermostat is closed, so that it doesn't build up too much pressure. So, and that this is always supposed to be at the top, so that's why those markings are on there. Let me show that a little bit clearer here. So, job one, get this metal part out. There. There, I'll put it right about there. And let's tighten that clamp down. There we go. Okay, now we get to see whether I made it better or worse. So, No new leaks. Let's get some more water. Okay, so the new coolant temperature sensor is in, and the inline thermostat is in, and it seems like everything is working like it should be working, like I want it to be working. Temperatures, instead of being in the 150s and 160s, are now in the 180s. Might get occasional 190-ish, 192, 193, something like that, but that's where I want it to be, 185 to 195, and fairly constant. So I didn't hammer on it very hard, but I just wanted to make sure that I was getting, normal driving, normal day, getting good temperatures. So looks like, or it seems like the problem is solved, and on to the next issue. So here we go.